Welcome back to the Miles Ahead podcast with Heath
And Olivia.
and our guest today, Maitland.
We have a very special guest because we have my crew chief extraordinaire on the episode. We're going to be talking about a couple of the races I attempted last fall. To be fair, Maitland's been there through literally every ultra, everything over or 50 mile and above. Maitland has been there through literally hell or high water, and I'm sorry for the things that she has seen. So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
First, we're going to talk about Burning River, I'm assuming, from last year.
No.
Not
Okay.
Burning River. Oh, I get confused with river in the names.
We've done a lot of R and BR and R2R races, to be fair.
Yeah, pretty much every race starts with an R at this point.
Yeah, it's not our best bet. But Maitland, do you want to introduce yourself, talk about your running anything, crewing anything? You've been I'm sorry for the places that I've taken you. Some fun. There's been some silver linings, aka Devil Dog, I think.
Yes, for sure. So I guess running started for me because I saw my dad get into trail running as a secondary thing to triathlons. So he started in, I want to say 2017 or 16 with triathlons, and then he wanted to get better running times for a marathon, and a friend invited him on a trail run. So the rest is history for him. And he did his first 100 in October of 2019. So that was my first crewing experience, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the planning, and my dad and I are very type A, writing all the numbers down. So it all started there.
You should have seen the blisters he had on the bottom of his feet were terrifying. I don't know how he walked. Well, because you didn't pop.
I didn't see them through the race. I did not
Okay.
see them until afterwards.
That's probably for the betterment of everyone.
Yes.
For his mental everything. He did Oil Creek.
Oh, okay.
100, yeah.
Yes.
The fun one.
It was, I guess I was kind of there last year, so it was an interesting one. But yeah, so Maitland's been there, seen too much. So yeah, I guess Rim to River is where we start. To spoil the story, I DNF'd that race. That was like my A race for the year. Found out I got into it when we were in Colorado.
Yeah.
Got off the wait list. I think I tried to register at like 12:15 a.m. on New Year's Day and was like put on the wait list, and I was like, darn, that's a bummer. So it sold out very quickly, but hey, I think it was like 25 on the wait list. So, but it took like 6 months for me to get off the wait list. And I was like, all right, well, I guess this is what's next. So,
How many runners were in that one?
I think 325.
Jeez.
The wait list was so long. I think it was like over 200 people. So
I feel like that's the future of ultra running
Yeah.
for big historic races.
Yeah.
Or this one's not really too historic, it's newer,
it is newer.
but very popular in West Virginians.
Even
Love
on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's odd to have like a lottery on the East Coast for 100. I don't know how many on this side has that.
Does Eastern States now?
I don't think so.
They don't even have their race half the time.
Well, yeah, they got canceled this year.
Too soon, too soon.
Shot fired.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun time. There was a lot of training. This was the first race that I ever came into. I had a binder. I was prepared. I said, Maitland, you're never gonna believe how organized I am. Even though, to be fair, I like think I have everything organized, and then I'm like, here you go, Maitland, and then I know it's gonna look completely different by the time I come to the aid station. So
Yeah. So I guess we could kind of start there. Like when you bring me all your stuff, and then you start the race, and then I take everything out, reorganize it. I'm like, where's her socks? Where are her layers? Where is her food? What does she need at the first aid station?
Yeah, we put everything in your car because I'm like,
Yeah.
I trust you.
Oh yeah.
I trust myself. Like, you got this. You've done this before. I'll be at the aid stations as well, but you're more trustworthy than me, and you've heard before.
If I can get to
so.
the aid station.
it was It
Yeah.
was a special year, you know?
Yeah. So we got to the start line. Like
Yeah.
I dropped you off that morning. Maitland, I don't think was at the start. No, right?
No.
No.
No, we was that the one we couldn't be?
Or no,
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 you could
you
be.
I think you actually
No,
were at
you
the
were at
start
the
because the
start.
first aid station is like literally a mile up the road for us,
Yeah.
but I think it's like 8 minutes
Yes.
for her to get
Yes.
there.
Yeah. So yeah, had a great build. Thought that I was gonna like really do well at the race.
Hmm.
Went in super positive, was like, yeah, this is the day. Crossed the start line. Maitland's recording me. I'm like trying not to cry. I'm always emotional at the start, never at the end. By the end, I'm like, someone just put me out of my misery. But at the
Hmm.
start, I'm like, wow, this is gonna be such a cool day. Little did I know. Little did I know. So yeah.
Started out as a cool day. I think you were in like second or third
Yeah.
female coming into the first aid station. I think we were 8 miles in. Like you were
Yeah. I
looking good.
think it was maybe 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah. Came in, I saw you guys, felt good. Switched my shoes.
Mm.
Yes. Something with your hamstring or your calf or something.
Yeah, my hamstring was hurting and I thought it was because I had like a newer pair of shoes on, but it still was hurting with my other shoes on once I like left the aid station, but I was like, like it's fine, like it'll probably work its way out.
Yeah. And I think that's the last time we saw you feeling good.
At mile 7,
Yeah,
because
that was like the best you felt for
yeah,
sure. You were looking good.
And
And
from my perspective, I felt like you came in quickly. Like I
yeah.
felt like you had gone too fast, but Heath was like, "No, it's good. That's what she wanted." And I was like, "Okay,
she
we'll
definitely,
see."
yeah, she came in fast, but it wasn't like she was going like faster than her 50K pace or anything
Yeah.
like that. It was like, okay, this is usually faster than she starts races, but
Right.
it's not like she should blow up by mile 30 or something
Yeah.
because she's running a 10K pace or
Yeah.
anything like that. But
So yeah, I then didn't see you guys for 20 miles, which was kind of wild.
Mhm.
I had an aid station on mile like 17 and a half. Felt great. There was like a couple miles on road. Was cruising, saw my friend Andy, was like, yeah, go Andy. Like you're passing everyone, like it's an out and back on some road. And I was like, I think between the start and mile 17 and a half, I had 1 mile under 10 minutes because it was like downhill on the road. I was like, oh, like we're early in. I was like chatting with some people, feeling good. Get to the aid station, say, hey, like I'm gonna use the porta pot. I'll eat a honey singer waffle. I'll take down a precision, I believe I was sipping on. Did that, ate the waffle, headed out of the aid station, was like, wow, like I think I had texted you or something like that, and I don't know, maybe I was less than a mile out from the aid station. I think I had passed like one female, and then there was another female like leaving the aid station right as I was coming in, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think I was going out. I like really didn't feel like I was pushing. I felt like I was having a good day, just like relaxing. Weather was nice. I wasn't going in the race to like place well. I thought that I could based on my training, but like I wasn't gonna like start racing anyone 17 miles in because
mm,
they're 17% of the race in. That's still a lot of time to go. So I ate that honey singer waffle, and like as I was like passing people on the way back, like I was just like saying, "Yeah, good job," blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Man, I can't wait until I get done with this out and back section because like I just want to like zone in." And I was like, "I feel really full." I was like, "Okay, that's okay." Like it's like my stomach kind of hurts, but normal. Like I just ate a decent amount, I guess. And then slowly the unraveling happened between miles 17 to 22. I was running, really going through it. That's when I started spitting for the first time that day, which, spoiler alert, was a common trend throughout the next 20 hours. I was like, man, this is so weird. I was just like leaning over on the trail, like trying not to make a scene because I was like, we're 20 miles in. I don't want anyone to be like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, man, I don't feel good at all. Just spitting. Um, a guy that I had known that was running the race like came up behind me and I was like, hey man, like I'm really going through it really, really on. Like I'm gonna run with you to the next aid station. Because it was like less than 3 miles away. Or no, I guess it was 3.5, 4 miles away. I was like, all right, I'll get to see them soon. We'll work this out. Within like 200 meters of running with him, I vomit. I'm like, keep going, keep going, keep going. I was like, all right, we're good. Everything's okay. Like, this will be a reset. As Sally says, we're resetting our body. Keep going, keep spitting a lot, throw up again. I was like, okay, all right, there's still more. Cool. Breakfast. Hey, how are you doing again? Finally, like I'm inching. It's like a flat rail trail. I'm annoyed that like people are passing me and I'm just like barely moving, barely moving. And years later, I get into the aid station. It's funny because I can see the aid station and I'm still just like doubling over, just like spitting. Get like up to the aid station workers that are like a little bit out from the aid station and they're like, hey, good job, like, do you want a Pringle? And I said no thanks, and then vomited in going into the aid station.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pause you there
Yeah.
because Maitland and I had a little fun before this too. So cell phone reception was very sparse,
Yeah.
For us at least.
Yeah.
And so I get to the aid station. I'm like, oh, hey, Maitland, like, where are you at? And she's like, oh, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, like, I don't see you. Where are you at? And it ended up being that she was at, I don't know, her phone took her somewhere. Was it an aid station?
It was an aid station that wasn't a crewable aid station.
Oh, okay.
And
Awesome.
and I was like, has this number come through? Like, and they're like, yeah, like she was already here. And I was like,
That's weird.
okay. Like, I said, what mile is this? I was not at the right place. So then they were like, you need to go that way. And I'm like, that's helpful. Like, I have no idea where I am right now. And to get to this aid station, you had to go across this one-way bridge. So in order to get out of there, meanwhile, my heart is racing. I'm like, I need to get there right now. And they're like, yeah, it's like 45 minutes away. And I'm like,
That's
oh my
insane.
God.
Yeah,
So
and
we
I
had to
think
go back across this one-way bridge, but I had to wait for all these cars and back roads and no service and
Stress.
and I thought
so much stress.
I got there a little bit early and took like the stuff down. I'm like, oh, okay, like Maitland should be okay. Like I'm sure she'll like wait here a little bit whenever. And like I found stuff. I started like resourcing. I'm like, hey, do you guys have like salt tabs? Because I think I was getting your text sparingly. And you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I need blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get some salt tabs and see what I can scavenge. And people were super nice giving us stuff. And like
Yeah.
then I saw you and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I can see her puking. And then you end up coming in. Maitland gets there while you're at the aid
Yeah.
station. And you can explain a little bit more about how the aid station went for you.
Yeah. I see Heath and I was like, I just threw up. And you said, I know, I saw. And I was like, great. I'm so glad. You're like, hey, bad news. Maitland has all your stuff and she's not here. And I was like, not
You
even.
told her that?
I don't know if I said it like that. No. I think I said Maitland's on her way. Like I have some salt tabs. I got like some gels for because I had some gels and stuff in my bag just from me that I was gonna carry like later on in the day and stuff. So we had some stuff.
We had some stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like,
don't worry, I'm gonna be here a while.
I was like, I'm gonna sit down. I was like, nothing is going right. I was like, I think I'm fine. Like, I'm gonna work through it. Like, we'll figure it out. And I think I ended up being in that aid station at mile 27 for like 45 minutes. I think I was still in the bathroom wrapped up in a blanket when you got there. So that was
with your mom. Your mom was also there.
My parents were there. I was hiding away in a bathroom, shivering, trying to like gain some control over whatever was happening. I feel like I was in an okay headspace. I was like, all right, everything's out of my body. Like we'll keep moving, you know. I think I had a little bit of Gatorade, maybe a gel.
Some broth. I think I got you some broth or something, yeah.
So yeah, Maitland got there in plenty of time. I was slowly just, I don't even know. It was crazy. I just think that I couldn't wrap my head around being hurting this bad that early in a race. I don't think I'd ever been through that early in a race. It was, I don't know. It was a crazy time.
Yeah, and this was the first race I was with you at as a 100-miler.
Yeah.
And so like I don't spend any time at aid stations.
Yeah.
So like you're there, like I know you feel like crap, but I'm just like scratching myself. Just a lot of time we're spending at an aid station here. Like
yeah.
But I'm like, how do we get you better? How do we get you so like you feel like continuing to go? Like, how do we fix this? Because like it's not something I've experienced before, like with stomach issues in an ultra like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I just remember walking out of that aid station. So I
straight up a hill. It was
straight up a hill. I remember being I don't even know, a tenth of a mile out of the aid station, and I duck behind a tree and use the bathroom. And I call both of you guys and I'm saying, I just don't know.
I don't think you. I think you got a hold of us, but like we
Yeah.
were both going up the
Driving
hill
up the
as you're
hill.
walking
Yeah.
in. Like you looked terrible, so I found a pull off, and like we both ended up pulling off
Yeah.
together. Like we didn't touch you or anything. I'm like, I'm not gonna get you DQ'd or anything. Like
Yeah.
I know people aren't really that anal about it,
Yeah.
but like I was just like,
It's like you can
just
see the aid station, you know.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just like, are you okay? Like, are you gonna make it? And you just like look like you're about to cry.
Yeah.
And I thought you were gonna drop there, honestly.
Me too, to be fair.
Yeah.
I I don't know, Maitland. You saw me. How'd I look?
So when I got to the aid station, your face was definitely pale and you
Yeah.
were in a blanket. And I was like, well, this isn't how we're going to progress forward. If we want to progress forward, we need to get out of the bathroom and get dry layers on and get you to eat something, drink something. So I remember you sitting in the chair outside of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Um, did we address your feet at that point? I don't, I don't
I
remember.
think we might have switched your
I switched
shoes.
my shoes back to
Yeah.
my other ones because I was
Yes.
foot
Okay.
hurt.
Yeah. And then once we did everything I thought we could do, that's when I was like, okay, you gotta go because sitting there was not going to help anymore. Like, I think
Yeah.
we did all that we could do at that point. So that was when I said, all right, you gotta go. Um, I probably wouldn't have waited around on the road because I felt like that would have given you an out. So
Yeah.
I think I think Heath is almost too close to the situation. Like he cares too much. Like you
Yeah.
sometimes have to be like,
Yeah.
no, like you're going. Like I don't really care what you think of me at this point. You're going, you're gonna appreciate it later.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of more my perspective of it. I also when I run, I usually don't carry my phone.
That's
Um, so like but like then you would text us and I didn't know if you texted us just then or if you texted us 20 minutes ago and I just got
true.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, does she want this now or did she want this half hour ago? Like, oh crap. Um, but yeah, that road just felt like forever. And then
Yeah.
we saw you duck into the trail again. And
Yeah.
then we drove to where we did have service in case you needed us. And then,
Well, I stayed right where you got back on the
Yeah.
trail. I'm like,
yeah,
hey, I'm gonna stay here in just case she can't go forward and she ends up coming back because
Yeah.
I didn't have service while I was there, and then you were gonna drive somewhere to get service. So I waited there
yeah,
like an hour or something, just chilling.
Because I think the next aid station, just like next regular aid station, was the 9 miles away. And in my head, it was just so far. I didn't see you guys until I think 43 was the next time I saw you guys, and I had an aid
Oh, the
station at
normal aid
like,
station, yeah, was
yeah,
9 miles, and then the
yeah.
next crude aid station was like, yeah, 20 miles or 17 miles. Yeah.
So I knew like that I was gonna be going through it. I think I called my parents. They were trying to like find what trail I was on to like see if I needed anything. I don't know. As soon as I got onto that trail, I was sitting on the ground. People are running past me. I'm just like, I'm okay. They're like offering me stuff. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I just going through a rough spot. This keeps going on for a long time. I run into a guy that he DNF'd Oil Creek with my friends that were running it. They all dropped at the same time, and he ran the Cloud Splitter. And he was like, "What are you doing back here?" He was like, "You were way up there. What are you doing back here?" I was like, "Brian, I've had a day." So I walk with him, run with him for like a mile. He drops me. I'm like, that's okay. You do your thing, have your day. I'm just struggling. I think I run with this one girl for a little bit of time. It was her first 100. She drops me too. But I stayed with her for a little while. I was trying to like talk to people, but I know that I was calling you guys so much. I just like I think I was surprised that Maitland was not more like, oh, if you drop, you drop. You were just like, keep going. And I was like, I'm think that I'm dying right now. I was like, it was crazy. So there's a lot of soul searching in that next span. I think that I had finally came to a point when I got to the next aid station. I ate some stuff, talked with this older guy that was running. He was like, "You're gonna come back." I was like,
you thought you were gonna come back a couple miles ago, so
yeah. I was like, I thought that like 3 hours ago, and I don't know. It's now been like 5 hours, and I still feel as awful. So,
Yeah.
but I like ate some stuff. Like the aid station workers like found me salt tabs. Like I tried my best, walked 20 feet out of that aid station, sat on a mound of dirt, was like, just gonna give it some time. People were probably sick of seeing this girl just like flat out laying down. I was like, I'm sorry. This seems so dramatic, but I just like can't do it. At that point, I think the spitting had subsided. Um, we had decided that I was gonna drop at mile 43. I think that was like the general consensus.
During that
Um,
time, I remember I went to Pies and Pines, like in downtown Fayetteville or
yeah,
whatever. Like, so I had service, and like you kept calling me like every 5 minutes. And like I was trying to Google things like, hey, what can we
yeah,
do? What can we do? Is it salt? Is it what is it? What is it? And like I'd woke up before the race, obviously, to drive with you there. And
yeah,
then like I went back home and tried to sleep a little bit because I was gonna pace you the last 50 miles.
yeah,
And then like when you were talking about that, you said like, yeah, I'm going to drop at 43
yeah,
unless something miraculous happens.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, if I don't get any sleep, it's okay. She's going to drop. I'll be able to sleep tonight and stuff. And I ended up going to run at the local park because I
Yeah,
still need to get my 10 miles in on the day. So I'm like, I'm going to get 5 in now. And then I
yeah,
can get 5 in later if she drops, like,
yeah,
no problem. So I go there to run and I get my 5 miles in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the next aid station, 40, 43, whatever
43,
it
yeah.
is. And I type in the address. I'm like, cool, 15 minutes away. It takes me to like the top where like the visitor center is, not where the aid
Oh,
station was.
okay.
So I end up missing you coming in.
Yeah.
What happens between 40 and 43 when you get in the aid station? Because a lot
I
changed.
a lot changed, yeah. I had been just like there were some really steep sections there. I'm like sitting on rocks and I was like, all right, Olivia, you have 2 miles into the aid station. Try to run. You're gonna get it done sooner. Just like try to run some. And I like started to run and I was like, hey, you're not spitting, like your stomach is okay. And I like everything kind of turns around. I felt the best I'd had all day. I couldn't believe it. I run into that aid station. I couldn't believe running down that hill. I was like hyping up. Everyone was like, come on, like there's the aid station, like it's downhill. We got it, we got it. And I think I like ran to you and was like, we're back. We're back. We're in this. And yeah, I did not end up dropping at 43. You are like driving in as I'm driving out. I was
Yeah.
like, we're back from the dead.
Yeah, I'm driving in. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. She's coming over the car. She's going to sit in the car, maybe wait it out a little bit. Or, hey, maybe we're going back to the Airbnb. Like, she said she was going to drop. Hadn't heard from me the last
Yeah.
3 miles because I didn't have service. And then you come running up to the car and, like, I roll the window down. I'm like, oh, I'll get in. She's like, I'm back. And I'm like, oh, what? What's happening? I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. I guess I'm going to run here in 7 miles with her. Like, okay. Dang, I should have slept some.
Yeah. Maitland was like jumping up and down. I couldn't believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so your parents were looking at your location, or were trying
Yeah.
to look at your location, which obviously was spotty too. And we're like, she's close to us. And then we're like, where is she? Like, she's still not here. And then we see you running, and we're like, oh,
That's
okay.
weird.
Great. What do you need? We're just gonna get you in and out. You're not
Yeah.
sitting. So,
So that was a cool time.
yeah.
I didn't think that time was ever gonna come. So yeah, we run. I like run, walk. Like I just like talk to people on the phone. I'm like, yeah, like we're gonna make these next 11 miles, like kind of try to go by as fast as possible because I knew I was gonna get you at 52.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that was up a road again, right? Out of the
uh
aid station? Or
Out of the
down?
aid
yeah,
stations up a road. Yeah.
Yeah.
everything's up or down a road, which is
Yeah.
so mean. I walked up that aid station and I was like feeling good, like trying to eat some. I was like, all right, we can do this. I like passed the guy that I had thrown up in front of. He was like, you're back, you're running. I was like, you have no idea the demons I fought today, man. Like, we're back. We're gonna try to see how this goes. So yeah, I get to where we're at. Get up that awfully mean hill, and pick you up, and we're about ready to roll, I guess. I don't know. I felt decent enough. Um, we start running. That aid station, I feel like I stayed in there not super long. I think I maybe put some dry layers on and then was like, all right, let's roll.
That downhill out of the mile 52 aid station is so disgusting. It's so technical,
Yeah.
especially since we were in the dark, since like you had that slow
Yeah.
first half, and it was just gross.
It was
But
scary.
like we were moving well.
Yeah.
I think we passed like 10 people before the next aid station,
Yeah.
before the next crude aid station, which would have been like 60.
Yeah. So we were feeling okay and saw you at mile 60 something.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm hot. Like I've just been running so much. It's like 50 degrees. I'll take some gloves and like a hat and
Yeah.
I'll eat my like pigs in a blanket and be out of here. I think I had some coffee.
Yeah. I remember being super hot too because I had my
Yeah.
windbreaker on, but I had it open.
Yeah, you had
Like,
unzipped
yeah, it
it.
was super, super warm when we left that aid station.
And quickly things once again began to fall apart.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, within 3 miles after that aid station was when things really started taking a turn again.
And we didn't have a crude aid station for many, many miles because
Yeah.
Maitland went home to sleep because
Yeah.
it was going to be 3 or 4 hours, I
At
believe,
least.
before we thought we were going to come in there.
Because I wasn't going to see you until 70, 77?
Yeah, that makes sense.
78 maybe?
Yeah.
Because I knew when I dropped at 69, there was 10 miles to the next aid station. So we wouldn't have seen you until almost 80.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess
we were still passing people that
Yeah.
next 3 miles. I think we ended up passing like 16 people from whenever I first picked you up to
Yeah.
where like we started losing ground again.
Yeah, and I just started spitting again.
Yeah, she makes it sound not that bad. But towards the end, it was literally every 20 feet she would bend over and just let spit just drip out of her mouth and then would go another 10 feet. And then the
repeat
same
the
thing.
process.
And it was super warm. We left that last aid station. We were moving well for like 3 miles. And then it literally dropped 15 or 20 degrees. And I was freezing because we
Yeah.
were going like 20-minute miles
Yeah.
at that pace. And I'm like, Liv has the same amount of layers of clothes as I have on.
I had
And
shorts
I'm
on.
way bigger than Liv. So like I know she's like has to be freezing cold
Yeah.
now.
So yeah, it was weird time. Heath was like, "You aren't joking. You're like a faucet right now." I was
Mhm.
like, "I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense." It was honestly like the weirdest experience. So I guess maybe by mile 66, you were like, "Hey, we need to
We had
think
passed an
about
aid
this."
station.
We did at like
At
63 or 64, I think.
Okay, yeah. And I think that's where you use the restroom.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you were feeling good at that
No.
point. Kind of got passed back by some people. And
Yeah.
then yeah, like 66. I think we had a aid station at
69.5.
69.5. Okay, yeah. So it might have been like 67. I'm like, hey, like we're freezing to death. We don't have another crude aid station where we can pick anything up for another 10 miles.
Yeah.
Like this isn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like we weren't that close to the time cutoffs with like what pace she had ran before, but if we were continuing at a 20-25 minute pace, we were eventually going to get cut off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think there's enough time for you to start feeling better.
Yeah.
And there's no way we're making it 8 miles between aid stations with how cold we are.
Yeah.
Moving at this pace.
So yeah, it was I don't know, I think it was like shocking to hear. Like I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, it's like really sucks, but like the whole day sucked." So and then like I don't know, as time went on, I was like, this isn't gonna get any better, is it? And yeah, we you call my dad.
Yeah. Tried to call Maitland. Maitland, of course, was asleep still because there was supposed to be another 2 or 2.5 hours before she needed to get up. So tried calling dad. Dad answers on like the first or second ring. He's like, hello. I'm like, hey dad, it's not going well. Can you come please pick us up at this aid station? He's like, yep, I'll be there. What's the location? So I like looked and found like the location, and
yeah,
we crawled into the aid station. They met us there, and
yeah,
it was funny. The aid station, we're like, oh, is there anything we can get you so you don't have to drop? And we're just like, nope, we're done. Thank you though. Like,
yeah, I really appreciated that they weren't trying to like push me to continue because like I feel like I would have felt worse. I already felt like awful, but I think that I just like summed it up as not my day.
Yeah.
I don't know what I could have done differently to make myself bounce back. Like the spinning thing continued for the next 24 to 36 hours.
And I've seen that before where aid station workers were complete dicks to people.
Mm,
It was at like Grindstone. The aid station workers were trashed, which UTMB race should be professional, should be
interesting.
good. And like this guy, it was like 40 miles in when I was waiting to pick up Andy. The guy's like, no, like I'm done. Like I know myself. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do it. And like the dude's like, oh come on, like stop being soft, blah, and like said all this stuff to him. The guy like decided to quit, like turned in his bib and stuff. And like the guy didn't even say like, hey, get it next time or anything. It was
Yeah.
just like ignored the dude. Then after that, I'm just like,
That's tough.
what is this? Like,
That's hard.
hey, if someone's like after they decide they drop and they drop, like,
You want to comfort them a
yeah,
little
like
bit.
comfort them,
Yeah.
do something. Don't be like, I get like pushing people to like
Yeah.
keep going forward, but like once they decide, like
Yeah.
they decide, like at that point, like
Like it's
call off the
taken,
dogs.
yeah, it's taken a long time to get to that point of like accepting that that's how things are gonna go.
Yeah.
So like just accepting that, hey, it's done. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was truly a wild experience. I think like as I was dropping, I was like,
What race can I do next?
yeah,
You were
I
literally
was
talking about it, yeah.
I was like, what can I do this calendar year to get 100 under my belt? I was like,
Even though you had already ran 100 this calendar year, it wasn't like you were
yeah,
going,
I
you weren't
don't know.
Carloing it.
It was like I just would like I feel like I trained harder than I had ever trained, and I
Mm-hmm.
would like wanted something to come to fruition from all of that.
Absolutely.
And I was like, me crawling 70 miles. I was like, this just can't be it. I was like, I don't want to lose all of this. So I don't know. I guess I was like, I didn't want to sign up for something the next day because I was like, that's irresponsible. Um, and I didn't want to like tell a whole bunch of people I was signing up for something and then think about it for a couple of weeks and be like, you know what, like I'll try again next time. Like easy does it. Like freak race. We'll see what happens. Um, so yeah, I think we kind of went our separate ways and drove back. And I think I don't know how long afterwards I texted you and said, "Hey, what are you doing December?"
I think I texted you first and I was like, so what are
Yeah,
you thinking?
I
And I think
think
you gave
that's
it a week.
yeah. I think you're right. I think you're like, so tell me what's next. And I was like, if Maitland's down, I had
I
spied a
think
race.
I think I was checking more on your mental health than
Yeah.
anything, but I knew that you needed to have another race for
Yeah.
your mental health. So
Yeah.
I think it was kind of both.
Which is wild in and of itself. So yeah, I feel like well, maybe on the drive back I started like looking at other hundreds, trying to find something that was like semi close.
Yeah, even whenever you were still running, you were like, "Hey, there, oh well, there is that one." And like, I don't know how you knew there was like some or like, I don't know if I would. Maybe I was like looking them up to comfort you that there was something because I'm like, "Hey, I need to hawk her into making sure she drops this next aid station if we're not moving better, so we don't die out here." Because I don't think your family would look fondly of me if I'm the
That's
one out here.
that's fair. I was like also trying to like look at maps like to see if there was like a road that like if I was like feeling really bad that we could just like bushwhack up to a road on the trail and that was irresponsible. So we did end up dropping, but yeah, we just I don't know. I think maybe 3 weeks later is when I signed up for Devil Dog.
I remember you were on and off again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like on the fence about wanting you to jump into something that soon after.
Yeah.
But like also I didn't want to tell you not to because like I knew you were upset about what happened.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to make sure my body had recovered enough because, like, regardless of how fast or slow I ran, that I was like, that was 70 miles. Like, your body's been through it. You put it through a lot.
Your body's a temple.
Yeah, and these are the things that we do to it. But yeah, I was feeling good. Like within a couple days, I was like, all right, like I think I had like one blister, and I was like, oh, okay, I think that's normal. That'll heal. Um, but yeah, about 3 weeks before Devil Dog, I signed up. I was like, hey, Maitland, can you be there? And you're like, yeah. And Evan, my first pacer from Cloud Splitter, had texted me, was like, hey, if you ever want like another pacer, I was like, hey, like I'm doing a race in Virginia. Like, I think that's close to you. He was like, yeah, sure. I was like, all right, so we're getting like the team together. Like, I've got pacers, I've got a crew chief. Like, we can actually give this thing a go. So 6 weeks later, we were in somewhere near Dumfries, Virginia. I don't even remember the town name. Prince William's Forest,
Yeah.
State
Yep.
Forest, to do Devil Dog 100, a 5 looped, 20-ish mile loop. Man, you know what I mean. Kind
5
of.
loops of 20 miles.
5 loops of 20 miles. There we go. And that was the one that, yeah, it was at like a Boy Scout camp.
Mm.
Our dear friend Randy, of whom is 74 and still running hundreds, was there. So happy to see him. So yeah, I was like, you know what? The sooner I rip off the band-aid of, yeah, you had a bad race, but like, what's that to mean that you're not going to have a great next race? Because I feel like even within the 6 weeks, I was like, I don't know, what if I get 15 miles in and everything starts falling apart again? So I don't know. We got there. I was like, all right, this is gonna happen. We're gonna do this. I tried to like really not psych myself out going into the race. I was like, I'm not gonna like who signed up. Although I did see Randy was signed up. I was like, cool. It's like we're not gonna go out fast. We're gonna just kind of see what happens. So you dropped me at the start and I let you guys sleep.
Okay, no. Not a bad boyfriend. You were not allowed to be at the start. You had to drop people off at the start.
You had to, yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah,
dropped you off, went back to the hotel to sleep some more.
And then I
got woken up abruptly by a call. I'm like,
Oh, yes.
no, this isn't good. And she's like, hey, I fell like really hard. And I'm just like, oh no, not again, not this early. No.
Like 5 miles in.
Hey, like, what can we get you? Are you able to run still? And you're like, yeah, I'm okay and stuff. Like, we just have to look at it at the aid station, which I think, what was it, like 14 or 16?
It was 16 miles in, yeah. You didn't see crew for the first 16 miles because the first lap was a little bit longer. So I was starting out, I think, like in the 13-minute range per mile, really slow. And I get through the first aid station. I'm eating some stuff on a gravel road. Eat it hard. I was so glad that I had gloves on because I like slid. And I like tore my shorts, tore my leggings. And I was like, I got up and I like was almost in tears. I was like, once again, here we are. Can barely put weight on this. Great. Awesome. I was like, all right, Olivia, you've fallen so many times. Just walk a little, eat a little. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Although I did call you because I was worried. Because I just like, I knew what my knee looked like when I fell that hard during the 50K I did last year. And I was like, if my knee balloons up like that, like, I don't know if I can run 90 more miles on that. Like, that was my biggest concern. I was like, I don't want my knee to swell, but I also don't want to take pain meds less than 10 miles into the race. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So Claudio woke you up.
Yeah, and I think important note, like if you fall in a race and twist your ankle or like skin your knee, get back up and start running again. I think if you sit there for a couple minutes, it's going to be 1,000 times worse whenever you try to start running again. Like if I twist my ankle, like most of the time, if it's not like bad, like I forget I did it 2 minutes later if I keep running. So like, I don't know. Like your body doesn't have time to react and actually do what it wants to if you just get back up and keep going. So I think it's smart that you did that. I think it would have been worse if you just sat there for a couple minutes and
I'm
thought
like,
about life.
Yeah, people are like passing me like, oh, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good, I promise. But I'm like hobbling a little and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll see them in like 7 miles. Like we'll go from there. So yeah, coming to that first aid station, regardless, I was better by mile 16 there than I was at Rim to River. Although I guess things hadn't completely fallen apart by then. But
you came in good spirits.
Yeah.
And like we got the little medic person from the thing and I'm like, hey, do you have alcohol wipes that we can use? And she's like, you don't do that on open wounds. And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, soapy water. So she came over and heard the injury on you and you were gonna switch your pants, but you're like, no, I don't want to switch my pants, which I think was a good idea.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to really see it. we like rolled it up. I was like, that's gonna leave a mark.
Mhm.
Still has left a mark. But I was like, all right, you know what? We're gonna just let it be. I was like, I don't want thicker leggings on. Like it's gonna get
Yeah.
hotter, quote unquote, throughout the day. So
What was going through your mind at this point, Maitland, this early on, her having a not
I wasn't worried about it.
okay.
I think we put like Neosporin on and a big
yeah,
Band-Aid. I think I was probably more concerned about the fact that the nurse or whoever it was wanted to put this huge Band-Aid on, and that would have bothered me. So,
yeah, that's
like
fair.
how you were going to react to that. But yeah, I think it's a good choice that you didn't change your pants or over exaggerate looking at it, or like that doesn't really help anything. So,
Yeah. And like I will say in the back of my head, I knew that Tara Dower had ran and set the course record on that race before. And I was like, Tara falls all the time. Her knees are like permanently just scarred and marked up. And I was
Mhm.
like, Olivia, you're gonna get up. You know what? It's like maybe it's a good sign. Maybe it's a good sign. So kept going, finished that first loop. I don't know, maybe, well, I don't know how long it took me. 4.5 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, the first one, like you said, was a couple miles longer because
Yeah.
the normal loop is
Over.
19 and a half, I think.
Yeah.
So
That one was like 23, I want to say.
yeah.
Regardless, I was celebrating coming into that first loop because I said, hey, we're this far in and I didn't throw up. So,
I think I was kind of worried because I thought you were not super fast on the first loop.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, hopefully she's holding herself back and doesn't feel this bad
that's
already.
fair.
And I also didn't know what the terrain was like or
Yeah.
like the elevation since I had never been on the course before. So I was
Yeah.
just like, huh, this is a bit slower than I would figure she'd be at.
Yeah, it was just like a Congo line the first like 4 to 5 miles. I like couldn't break out. It
Mhm.
was dark. I was like, man, we're moving a little bit slower than I wanted to, but I was like, we're 2 miles in. I'm not gonna be that person to try to take off in front of everyone. I was like, maybe this is a blessing in disguise,
Mhm.
starting a little bit slower. Like it's giving me
mhm.
more time to like warm up to everything.
Yeah.
So that's what we told myself that what was happening. So
Yeah.
but yeah, from there I feel like the second loop, I don't remember much about it. It got warmer. I think I was on the phone to my dad and he told me the bib number of the girl that was in second place.
Mm.
And I was like leaving an aid station. I was like, I think that girl's on the aid station right now. I was like, okay, like that's cool. But I was like, you're 30 miles in, so you still have a lot of time to for things to go wrong.
Or for things to go right.
Correct. Or for things to go right.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything climactic happening that
No.
second loop.
No, not at all. Second loop went off pretty well, and then by the third loop is when I got a pacer.
Yeah. You got
So
pacer early.
yeah, by mile 42 and a half, I picked up Evan.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I chatted a lot that loop. I just like chatted and like walked and was like having a great time, like catching up. And I was like, looking back, I'm like, wow, I could have made up a lot of ground during that lap, but I was like, we're just talking. Like,
Because at this point you're in second place, I
this
believe, right?
point, I think that I was in first and didn't know it because when I was halfway through that loop with Evan or I guess 2/3 of the way through, coming into the aid station where I saw you guys was when I said, hey, Evan, I'm going to use the bathroom. There's a girl coming up behind me. Can you see what bib number she is?
Mhm.
And I was like, tell me if she's 100 mile or 100K. And I used the bathroom, come out, and he's like, oh, 100 mile. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
And halfway through that loop with Evan, I remember seeing that girl come in. She probably had like a 5 minute lead
Yeah.
at that point, or maybe
I
like
think I
10
saw
minute
her
lead.
in the aid station. Or do you mean at the end of that loop?
No, I mean halfway through that loop.
Halfway through that loop, I saw her
At the aid station?
at the aid station.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can see it like in a maybe. I think you can see it
I
in a
think you're right.
yeah. Because like I walked out of the bathroom and there she was in the aid station. So it was like, okay, cool.
Oh, okay. You went to the bathroom at the aid station.
At the aid
Okay, yeah,
station,
yeah.
yeah. So saw
Gotcha.
her and was like, all right,
And she looked pretty fit. I was like, oh, okay. She's like,
yeah.
she knows what she's doing. She's not someone who's just running insanely fast pace at the beginning and stuff. So I was like, I was kind of worried. Like,
Yeah.
in the case of you winning, like, and it wasn't that important, but like I was like, oh, like this girl looks
Yeah.
like she's fit, like. But you seemed like you were pretty good at that point.
Yeah,
Like you
I
felt
was
decent.
relaxed. Yeah, stomach, everything was going pretty well with nutrition, of which I was really thankful.
Mhm.
Just sipping on, I think I had quite a bit of glucose, had a lot of pumpkin bread.
Yeah.
Loved me some pumpkin bread. Pumpkin bread and black coffee is how I fueled 99% of that race. Um, so that was nice. Came through that lap. It was about 9 p.m. I want to say when I picked you up at the 100K mark.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was cold.
It
I
was
remember
cold.
getting cold. I was sitting by like the fire,
Mm,
and I'm like, I hope I'm wearing enough.
yeah. So we start the loop was pretty good. I think that first full loop with you, we had some good times,
Mhm.
running back and forth, nothing super crazy happened.
No, I felt good.
Yeah.
I bought this random muff that was supposed to be like a heated like hand muff. And like I was wearing that instead of gloves the whole
Yeah.
time, and I had like the hot
Hand
hands in it, and like that was how I was walking. I'm sure people were like, "What is this?" But I was enjoying it, and the
Yeah.
first loop I felt good,
Yeah.
and you were moving well. And
Yeah.
then the aid station was 14 miles into the loop, and each loop is 19 and a half miles. So after
Yeah.
you hit the aid station, like 5.5 miles to go.
Yeah.
And we came into the aid station, saw Maitland. At that point, I think you were 5 or 10 minutes behind
Yeah.
first. That's where we first actually like started like tracking. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to catch her before the end of this loop. And I'm like, okay. Like that's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, because I think you called us before we came into that aid station, was like, hey, she's here now.
Mhm.
Because I was like, you were doing the math between the first aid station on that loop and when we saw crew. And I was like, you were like, you're making a
You made a round
room.
there,
Yeah.
yes.
And I like wasn't really thinking much about it. I was like, man, that'd be really cool if I called her. But like something lit a fire under me between those two aid stations because I was gonna come in the aid station and like sit down for a little bit. I was like, I'm feeling tired, like it's getting pretty late. And then as soon as you called and was like, hey, she's just left, like you will have not even a 5 minute gap. I was like, guess it's go time. I'm gonna be in and out and then see what happens. So
Mhm.
I feel like I was not in that aid station long at all, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're less than a mile before the end of the loop. So
Yeah.
about 80 miles in.
Yeah.
And you're like, I see headlamps.
Yeah. I was just like waiting, just like trying. I couldn't believe that it had gotten that far into that portion of not seeing her. I thought that we were going to see her a lot sooner than we did.
Mhm.
So I was like, come on. Anytime I turned a corner, I was like, nobody else left between us. Like, we're bound to see them soon. And so
Mhm.
when I turned that corner and they were going uphill, I was like, Heath, look, look. And you're like, all right, so remember, you're gonna want to pass her. Like, make sure you're looking like you're still with it. Like, yeah, you're 80 miles in, but like, say,
Fake it.
yeah, fake it, fake it if you can, and then keep going. So, like to say that's the only hill I ran up that whole day. I said, hey, good job, looking good.
You told me not to tell Maitland before
Yeah,
we came in.
I said, well, because our service was already spotty, I was like, hey, if you've not told her that we just passed her, please don't tell her. I was like, I just want to see what she says when we come into the aid station.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun moment. I'm not sure if you appreciated us not telling you or not, but
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for you. I mean, I wasn't ready yet. I was enjoying the fire.
that's fair.
It's a good fire, good fire. So what were your thoughts? 80 miles in, you just saw her, she was looking good. She was in second place at 75.
Yeah.
Then you see us come in first at 80. What's going through your mind?
First I was thinking, I hope she didn't go too fast
That's
and
fair.
die off. How recently did you pass her? I think then after you guys left, I stayed there until because she came in when you were there.
Yeah.
She was not far behind you. But then I think she spent almost 20 minutes there,
Yeah.
getting layers, massage, eating, etc. I think she wasn't looking so hot at that point.
Yeah.
Which I think I had told Heath. I don't know if I said like, don't tell Olivia, but she's not looking so hot. But Olivia still needs to move, so.
But what was scary leaving that aid station is we didn't have service leaving, and like almost right after we got out of the aid station, we turn around and there's two headlamps, like not far back at all. And I remember like my stress level went from like here, from like passing her to like so high. I was like, we gotta move now. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't just like bask in like, oh, like that was
Mhm.
cool that we passed her, but I was like, we gotta like move and make up ground on whoever this is.
And like every 2 minutes, you're like, did Maitland text that she left yet? Did Maitland text that she
Yeah,
left yet?
I
And I'm
kept
like,
asking.
hey, I don't think I have service right now. Like,
Right.
keep going. Like, because at first, whenever you come out of the aid station and before you come to the aid stations, like a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
It's pretty technical. It's probably the toughest part of the course. So we weren't making up that much ground
Yeah.
quickly.
No.
Or not making up ground. We were in the lead, but we weren't
Yeah.
going through that mile very
No.
quickly. But you were moving very well through the first 6 miles till we got
Yeah.
to that first aid station.
Yeah.
And during races, I don't eat much from aid stations, but like whenever I'm pacing, I'm just like, oh, you guys got chicken nuggets? Like, chicken nuggets? Pierogies? Okay, I'll take some pierogies. You got a little bag for me?
It was so funny.
And
how
Liv's
he-
just like, I don't eat during races. Like, I don't eat anything during races. I just run off the joy and fun of it.
I had pumpkin
And
bread.
I'm like, go ahead, Liv. I'm getting some food. I'll catch up.
That was funny though, because that aid station we came in, like the aid station workers were like, "Oh my gosh, like you look so great, like you look like you're moving great." I was like, "Oh, haha, thanks, like really appreciate it."
And you were at that point.
Yeah, and then like I remember I didn't want to try eating anything new all day, so at that aid station we had 14 miles to go. I had a little bit of Gatorade, a little bit of broth, and a couple pretzels, which is something I had at like the last time we were at that aid station. I had the exact same thing, and within like a mile, I was like, my stomach's starting to not feel great. Awesome. That's great, you know.
And there was a timing that at the aid station.
There
So I kept
was.
like refreshing the page
Yeah.
to see if like the girl in second had came in yet
Yeah.
and
So
kept
that was-
refreshing and kept refreshing. And we got a couple miles in before she had came in, like 2 or 3 miles
Yeah.
in. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, you've made a gap of 4 minutes per mile so far. So we're doing well. We just need to keep going as fast as we can.
Yeah, you were like, at this rate, you've made up this much time per mile. Should you be going this much slower? And I was like, so how can you just tell me total time?
Right.
I
Dumb it down a little, please.
I was like, okay, I guess that sounds good. I think I was still I felt a little bit more relaxed after we got to that timing mat.
Mm.
I was like, all right, there has been some ground picked up, so that's cool. That next stretch until we saw you felt really long.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It was a long time. The sun rose during that point, but because it was rose by the time we came into that aid station.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were both having stomach issues on that section as well. Especially like the last 3 or 4 miles of it.
Yeah.
It was not a good time for either of us.
No.
And for some reason, like my hamstring on my like right leg was killing me. And so like Liv would be like doing like a like walk jog, and I would just be like walking. I'd let her get like 100 yards in front of me, and then I would like run to catch up because like that's what felt the best on my leg. If I was going at her pace, it was like killing me.
It was so fun.
And I don't know why. Maybe just because I don't not usually going at that pace. So it was
Yeah.
like different muscles, and like that the course had some elevation on it. It definitely wasn't flat, but like I felt bad for her because like it was probably annoying that I would just like get far behind and then run and catch up to her. But
I think all I was thinking was just like, go, 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 keep moving, keep moving. Like I had very short, simple thoughts going on by that point. I was like, I don't really know what to eat. I don't know what's gonna be okay, what's gonna sit okay. So I was just like, man, I can't wait for the sun to rise. I'm cold. Because that portion I think is like the coldest I had overnight. I was just like, man, I just like want the sun to come up to feel like I'm actually alive. Like getting to the like final stretch for that aid station, I was like, "Ugh, okay, and kind of breathe a little bit because I was like, all right, there's 6 miles left, you know, like what can go wrong with 6 miles left is what I was thinking. Came in, saw you. I don't think I ate much. I think I had a little bit of something in the aid station, but not a ton.
you wanted to get out of there fast, like
Yeah.
because at that point we knew you still had a lead, but we didn't know how much because there was 9 miles since the last timing that.
Yeah.
And I remember I ate a bunch of ibuprofen or Advil,
Yeah.
and then got like a cup full of Cheez-Its
Yep.
and caught up to you. And
Yeah. I was walking down that hill that was really like big gravel, and I was like, ow, ow, ow. Because for some reason my head said, you've came 90x amount of miles without taking pain meds. What's 6 more? Why would you try Tums even though your stomach's killing you? That's dumb. Don't ask me. There was not much things going on upstairs in my brain at that point, but yeah, that was about it. But that point, like trying to get into a running form took so much time. Like it took me like 30 seconds to like get some form of a turnover. I felt like an old car like trying to like start its engine. I was like, okay, we're moving. But yeah, those last 6 miles were really bad.
What was going through your mind 6 miles to go at that last aid station? Were you feeling good or?
I was tired.
Me too.
After you guys left, I don't know if I stayed there or not, but I called Evan and I was like, they just left the last aid station. Like, you're gonna want to get to the finish line. And then we were at the finish line and we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Those last 6 miles, you averaged between like 20 and 30 minutes per mile. Because I was like, okay, we got like 2 hours to go probably. And it was
like 3.
Yeah.
It was over 3, yeah.
But we knew we had like a really good lead. I think you had like a lead. So I was like, cool, like, hey, we're good pretty much no matter what. But then like we had like a 26-minute mile, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're not, but I'm like trying not to freak out, trying to keep going, and like those last 3 miles took so long and you felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like at one point you're like, can we hold hands while we walk? And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Like, I'm like, it's just a single track trail. I'm like stomping through like little trees and stuff, like so I can walk side by side. And just like at one point you like sat down and I'm
on
just
this, like bridge.
I'm like freaking out. I'm just like, oh no. This girl could catch up like if she moves, but like I don't know. We heard people on the trail come behind us.
Yeah, that
and I'm
scared
like,
me.
oh my gosh, don't tell me we're gonna get past here. That'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then luckily it was just random people walking their dog.
Some hikers that I was like, honestly, it's gonna get it'll be embarrassing to get passed by hikers right now, but like also I don't think I care a ton, so but we like turned off the trail like that they were on. But yeah, I used the bathroom a lot in that section. My stomach was killing me. Sat on the bridge. I don't know. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm in so much pain right now. And I was like, Heath, I'm still gonna end up doing this again. Why do I do this? I think when Evan ran down to find us, because
I was getting a little nervous.
That's fair.
Because Heath was not in great shape either when he left aid station. And I was like, his hamstrings are so tight, and if she's slowing down for him, I'm gonna hurt him. Like, I was like, if he gets injured and he doesn't say you go, then I'm gonna have some words. But
that's funny. I didn't even think that you might have had that thought in your mind.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. So luckily we were not injured physically, just in spirit and mind and slightly in body, but we're getting really close to the end. And Evan just appears and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He was like, we just wanted to make sure you were like okay, because like we've been waiting for a while and like Maitland and I were getting a little worried. I was like, yeah, we're coming. It's just things haven't been too great.
Some random guy just bombs us downhill 99.5 miles in and passes us.
I did
bombed
not
care. He was bombing it.
I was like, if my life depended on it, I don't know if I could be moving that well. Like, I'm really impressed. I don't know how you're doing that, but like, props to you.
Some random guy also, it wasn't, I don't think the last section, I think it was before that, like started running with us and talking to us. Like he lived, I don't know, some other state, but he'd lived somewhere near us, and he lived in like North Kent before.
Yeah.
And like, which is close to where we live, and like started talking to us about us and asking us way too many questions. And Liv was just not in the mood for talking stuff. And I'm like, I wish this guy would just go ahead of us.
Yeah. Because we would pass him and then he would pass us. And then
we were like,
he got really far ahead and was still like yelling back to talk to us. And I was like, sir, it's like 4 a.m. We've both been up for a really long time. I would love to like just go through this in silence right now. He had other plans.
Yeah.
So yeah, but finally crawled up that hill. That uphill to the end was a rude way to finish a race. Um, but we made it. Suddenly my appetite's back once we finish.
Mhm.
Um, that was, I don't know. I don't think I told Heath at one point, I was like, I don't care that I'm gonna win. I just care that I want to be done. I want to be done moving. I want to sit down. I just don't care anymore.
Hmm.
Which is like, I don't know. The competitive drive was like gone. I think it would have, if I saw her coming in the distance, I think I would have like tried a little bit more, but I was just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine moving any faster. Then I think I could have crawled faster in some of those sections, in all honesty. Like it was bad. So
You'd been up a lot of hours at that point too.
yeah,
More than me, so but
believe
you're
it or
you're
not.
so much better at handling it, like
Yeah.
staying up time. Like I'm not up more than 24 hours very often at all. So like I
Yeah.
was like done whenever we crossed the finish line. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to be asleep.
That was, yeah, crossing the finish line. I got my nice little Yeti that said first place.
Cool,
What
cool
was
mug.
starting that last lap, one of the race directors like popped in front of me and was like,
Mhm.
"Who are you?" And I was like, "Olivia." He was like, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Great." Because like at this point, like the aid station workers would be like, "Nice job, Olivia," when I came in because they saw my number when I called out and would like say something. And I like told the guy, I was like, "Should I know you?" And then I like looked down at his shirt and it said race director. And I was like, "Oh." And so I felt bad, but he was like hyping me up. He was like, "You got one more lap, like keep going, like you got this." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. Like I really appreciate that." Like that was cool. So getting to the end, like the guy told me, he was like, "Yeah, like the girl that's in second, it's like a really good friend. Like this is her first 100, blah 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 blah." So I was like, "Sorry you see me first instead of her, but thanks. That was a really cool experience." Randy was there at the end because he dropped at mile 62. But hey, when you're 74 and still can run 100K, that's
That's
literally
right.
insane.
Yeah.
So that was really cool seeing him there. Went over, had some breakfast. I think that like by the time I get to an end of a race, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm running on, but I'm just like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. Like, we can eat, we can, I'll go change. It's all great. It's all wonderful. Heath is like internally dying
Yeah.
to go to sleep. We're there, I guess, for like an hour, like me changing, Maitland like helping me hobble
Oh
to
my
the
God.
bathroom. So yeah, it was
You washed your feet off in
washed
the
my feet off.
shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was truly a day that I never thought when I started ultra running that I thought I would see. I don't think that I ever would have pictured winning a 100-mile race. I didn't really think I knew what that even meant.
Hmm.
To be fair, slowest time to ever win that race. But hey, a win's a win.
That's
So
right.
Still counts.
Keith kept saying like, "Hey, it doesn't matter. Like you can only beat whoever's out there today." And I'm
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
that's so fair. So
You're
that was
out there and they aren't. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, dried off. Couldn't really believe it. And then we passed out in the car for like 3 hours.
Yeah, this is Sunday morning at like what,
Yeah.
10 o'clock or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to work the next day. I don't know if you worked the next day or not.
I did not know.
It might have been Christmas vacation by that point.
Not
I don't
yet,
know.
no.
But either way, so we had to get back that day, but I'm like, we need to sleep some
Yeah.
before for the love of everything. So we slept on a couple hours, drove
Yeah.
back. I had to technically run when we got back. So I ran
Oh
like
yeah.
6.5 miles when we got back at like 10 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
Like,
You were not having, you were like, I feel like I ran 100 miles. I was like,
oh, I
no, it
felt
was
so bad.
me.
Yeah. Like, which is
It
wild.
was so funny.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry. I appreciate that you didn't like tell me that you were feeling really bad while we were running,
Yeah.
that you
No.
waited until after. That was
Yeah.
nice.
If you're pacing someone, you don't tell them the struggles that you're having as a pacer. That is not the thing to do at all. Like,
no.
So yeah. So yeah, you saw, man, that was a wild 6 weeks of time. Um Going from DNF to first place, which is of course what I'm gonna name the episode of this podcast.
I like it.
So yeah, I've got a couple questions for Maitland, considering she's been literally there from the start when I didn't know even what crewing was. Like when you were throwing stuff out at JFK, I was like, I'm supposed to sit down right now. I don't know what's going on.
I forgot JFK was one of the first. I mean, like I crewed you, but it wasn't like officially I crewed you.
Yeah,
Like
I
you're like,
didn't.
yeah, my family's gonna be there. I'm like, okay, like do they know what to give you?
I
Like,
was like, no, we're just gonna sit at the aid station and talk, right? They'll
oh.
have my shoes, I think. So what was your, I'm gonna say, oh, what was your first crewing experience? Well, it was your dad, right?
Yes, my
Okay.
dad's 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like you guys said, it was Oil Creek.
Yeah.
So that was a looped course. I think it was three,
It's 3 laps that are like a 50K.
yes, and then like another 10-mile
Yeah,
loop.
which is
Yeah.
rude.
Yeah.
Um, what was your favorite crewing experience?
Oh man.
Oh man, is right.
Um, can we start with the worst one? The
Yes.
worst one was Cloud Splitter.
Why?
Rain the entire time.
Yeah.
Me, Evan was at that one, yes.
Yeah.
Um, but then I was expected to crew and then also run. That
Yeah.
is very hard to do
Yeah.
because it's really hard to take care of myself while I'm trying to take care of you as well.
Yeah.
So then having my body be ready for like sleep wise, food wise,
Yeah.
being where I need to be, making sure cars are jockeyed where they need to be, where keys need to be,
Yeah.
that
That's a lot.
and like the back roads that I had to drive on were not in the fog, in the rain. Yeah, that was not fun at all.
That one was like a hope and a dream, like that everything came together and it somehow did, but I was just oblivious to all of it. I was just and I come into an aid station, you'd be like, you would not believe what it took to get here. And I was like, oh,
Well, it's like,
okay.
am I on the right road? Like, do they actually
Yeah,
expect crew to come down here? Like, they didn't
that's
tell
fair.
anyone they needed four-wheel drive. Like,
True, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Wait, what about so what was the best then?
No.
oh,
Um,
Or your favorite with Olivia? You don't have to decide between Olivia and your dad.
that's fine.
I think probably Rabid Raccoon because the aid stations were so close together and I knew exactly where I was going each time. Um,
True.
that,
That was
yeah.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like an easy crew. It was a crewable race.
that's fair. Yeah.
And an inside. One of the aid stations was
True.
inside with bathrooms and like both aid stations had bathrooms, so that was helpful too.
Yeah. How do you know when it's time to kick me out of an aid station?
Hmm.
Mm.
Once your pack is full and I don't have anything else to say to you or to give you, I feel like it's instinct a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Um, sometimes I feel like sometimes I ask you, but most of the time I'm like, all right, it's time to go.
yeah, that's fair.
And I don't really I'm really bad about keeping track of time
That's
when
fair.
I'm when I am crewing, but I'm like, okay, she's been here too long. Like, or
Yeah,
I take notice of like which runners are still in the aid station as well.
yeah,
Um, or like what part of the race it is. Is it at the beginning? Is it at the end? Is she cold? If she's gonna get cold, she's leaving, or
yeah,
we need to get her a blanket, or yeah,
true.
just depends.
How do you know the balance between pushing me to keep going and knowing when to drop?
I'm still learning.
That's
Um, I think I would probably just push you until you say no,
that's fair.
unless you're injured,
Yeah,
um, which we really haven't had to deal with.
thank goodness.
So I know.
Knock
Knock
on
knock. Uh, yeah, I guess like the only time you stayed in an aid station was at Rabbit Raccoon and you stayed and you slept for like I don't know how long with
yeah,
that emergency blanket around you.
yeah, that was a fun time. Um, do you sleep? What's your time away from the runner like?
It totally depends. With Rabbit Raccoon, I think I had more time to sleep because I knew exactly where I was going. I knew how long it was going to take me to get to the next aid station. I have my car built out so I can sleep in my car if I want. I also, though, have a hard time sleeping because I don't want to miss you, and I get there way before I need to most of the time. I also like watching other runners and like seeing what they're doing, trying to learn from others, seeing what's at the aid stations ahead of time, getting you coffee ahead of time. So
It's fun to
sometimes sleep, sometimes no. Depends how anxious I am too.
that's fair. Best advice you could give someone that's crewing for the first time.
Either crew or pace. Don't do both
That's
the
smart.
first time.
Yeah.
Know to the best of your ability where the aid stations are.
Yeah.
If you can get there the day before and drive to all the aid stations, that is ideal.
Yeah.
And then make sure you know where your runners' things are.
True.
Food, clothing. If you need to reorganize it, do it. What makes sense to you. Your runner's probably not going to be the one going through your car all day. Um, and then knowing what your runner wants at each aid station. And I think one of the most important things is knowing what your runner's goal is. Is their goal to complete it? Is their goal to break a certain amount of hours? Is it to win? I think that that really impacts how you push them, how much you push them, when you push them,
True.
the way you talk to them, etc.
Yeah. Do you have a checklist in your mind of what to ask me when I come into an aid station?
Um, yes and no. I feel like from experience, I just kind of know what to say.
That's fair.
Um, And you will sometimes write a list of what you want me to ask you or what you want at a certain aid station. Um, some things like from my dad that I remember, he always wanted to like empty his pack of any trash, refill his nutrition, refill hydration, layers. Something I always ask you about is your contacts.
Yeah.
Um, a new headband, I think, is one of your
Yeah.
typical ones,
Yeah.
or a hat. Um, I usually just say, do we need to fix your feet? Do we need to touch your shoes?
Yeah.
It's either yes or no. And then I let you explain because I don't want to put things into your head about are we changing socks? Are we changing shoes? Are your feet wet? Do your feet hurt? Do you have
Yeah.
blisters? Instead of asking all those questions, simply saying, do we need to mess with your feet?
Yeah, true. And we've been leaning more towards a no. We'll just reap the
Yep.
consequences later. Um, favorite crewing memory.
Probably when I was sitting at the fire and Heath's like, she's here. And I was like, what? I wasn't expecting that at all.
Me neither, I can tell you. Tell you that much. When I started that race, I did not think that was gonna happen. Um, craziest thing you've ever had to do for your runner.
Yes. So one thing comes to mind at Rabid Raccoon that I had to use a hair dryer to dry your socks and your shoes, and I rinsed your socks out in the bathroom sink,
Yeah.
rinsed them out,
And then
squeezed them out. You used a hair dryer from the hotel room or Airbnb or somewhere
yeah,
we were staying. I don't remember. Um, yeah. So using that hair dryer was fun. Oh, and then we put the Axe body spray on your feet or something.
yes.
That
And
was
it smelled so strong. I was like, man, does it smell good now? Smells strong. I'm awake. It was like smelling salt.
Smelled
it
like a
was
boy.
it was so weird.
Yeah, you were
I
just
had
like,
called my dad and that was some like to dry your feet out because it was just
yeah,
wet. They were just
yeah,
so wet.
so wet. That was fun when you paced me because you were like, I wondered why this 4 mile section slowed you down so much. And I was like, yeah,
The mud.
having fun, the mud. Um, which race did I stress you out the most at?
I don't know if it was you stressing me out or just like the whole situation of Cloud Splitter
That's fair.
and getting places.
Yeah,
I don't know that you really stressed me out.
that's good.
I think maybe at the DNF.
That's
where
fair.
you just kept calling and calling and texting and calling. And I'm like, is she even running? Like, what is she doing?
No. I was like laid up on a tree somewhere calling
Oh,
like, hey, I got service. What's up? How's your day going? Better than mine, I bet. Um, and then last question, how do you gauge what to say to me at the right time? I feel like
you're
this,
very hard to read. So it's hard to know what to say.
yeah,
Do I say the right thing at the right time?
I think so, yeah.
I try not to stress you out. When
Fair.
Heath was telling you about like the girl in second or the girl who was in first and you were in second, I was like, Heath, I was not gonna tell her that yet. Like, why did you tell her that? I wouldn't have said that yet. But that's just like different experiences and like he at that time already had probably known that you were gonna overtake her and like I wasn't
Thinking that for,
right, that wasn't really my thought at that
yeah,
time.
exactly.
So,
And I feel like everyone's different like that if they want to know
yeah,
where they're at position wise,
right.
how far they are behind. Like that's
Yeah.
something I'm definitely gonna go into my next race. Like, hey, I don't want to know until I'm 60 miles in, really,
That's
where
fair.
anyone's at.
That's fair.
And that's again like as a crew chief, like you need to know, you should meet with your runner ahead of time and know
Mhm.
some of those
Like her
things.
dad was telling her too, like he said on
Yeah,
the phone, like, oh,
yeah.
where she was at and stuff. Like, so
Like
make sure
dad
everyone's
will,
on the same
yeah.
page.
My dad will tell me. He's like, according to this app, it says you're gonna be done in 22 hours. And I'm like, Dad, kindly, I love you, but please stop talking.
Right, right.
I'm like, it's not gonna take me 22 hours. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
So, you know. But yeah. Well, thank you for your time and for joining
Sure.
us. And I'll see you next weekend at the Rabbit Raccoon.
Wait, what's the whole name?
Visit Beaver
Beaver
County,
County
Rabid
Rabbit
Raccoon
Raccoon 100
100
miler brought to you by
Wolf
Wolf
Creek
Creek Race
Race Management.
Management.
Yeah.
There we go. What
In
a
Beaver Falls,
mouthful.
PA.
In
Yeah.
Beaver Falls, PA.
Also, the Visit Beaver County Rabid Raccoon 100K.
And Trash Panda half marathon. And now the
Trashy triple. Trashy
trashy
triple.
triple. There's
And there's like the
And
foreplay
obstacle
or
course.
something.
yeah, there is like you can do 4 things. I don't know. The relays should be named something different too. Next year they need to work on that.
Yeah.
They've got names for everything else, might as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thanks again. We will see you later.
The Raccoon Relay.
The raccoon relay.
And enjoy the miles ahead.
And enjoy the miles ahead.